You want your 30-minute classics? Not me. Big meaty man slapping meat.
Kicking off the heat, yeah, it's time to go. Slapping me, wrestling, stealing the show. Tuesdays, Fridays, we bring it on air. Step into the ring if you're ready to care. Oh, let's talk power, let's talk speed. Hosted by the one and only WETOODEEP. Turn it up loud, feel the power in your seat. This is slapping me, yeah, slapping me.
What is back, everybody? It is your boy WeTooDeep, and we are back with another episode of the Slapping Me Community Show. And let's not waste too much time. We got a lot to cover today. I do want to thank you all for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in, whether it's on YouTube. Hey, if that's where you're listening to this episode, why don't you hit that thumbs up button? Let us know you like the product. If you don't like it, do me a favor. Look, that thumbs down button is there. Do me a favor. Hit it twice. Tell me you really hated it. Hit it twice. Leave us a comment as well if you are on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, or any other audio version of this podcast, whether it be, I know it's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, I think it's on Pandora, I think it's on iHeartRadio. So many different apps that that we reach out to. If you are listening there, we also appreciate you. Hit the subscribe or follow button, leave a review. Hopefully I earn a 5-star, whatever rating you want to give the show that you think that I've earned, give me that, as that helps me know what you all think about the product. But with that, enough of that. Let's actually get into what you guys came for. And that's for me to give my opinion on the topics of wrestling and the topics of the NFL. But before we get there, I have a couple opening thoughts. The first is I want to send my thoughts and prayers to whoever it was in the wreck this morning that I was stuck in, that I was like an hour and a half late to work. And I was a little bit frustrated. You ever been in traffic and you get frustrated and then you look up why you were in traffic when you get to work and you realize that someone had to get medevaced or helicoptered out of the interstate, and that's why the traffic was there, because they had to shut the highway down to medevac someone out, and then you feel like total trash? Well, that was me this morning. And so from what I've heard, no one was killed in that crash. I don't know all the details, but been thinking about you all day. Just wanted to say that. Secondly, let's get into this right here. The first opening thought that I had outside of that is I may have saw the nastiest video today. I had some downtime at work today, so I was just scrolling along on Facebook, and I may have saw what may have been the nastiest video I've ever come across. Like, what are we doing as a human species to think that this is okay type video? And this is what I saw. This is one of those, I had to physically watch this video, so now you get to hear about my experience and what I had to see. Right? I'm assuming this was New York. And this dude was the only one on the subway, I guess. And he decided that he was going to walk to every single one of them poles that the people who have to stand up hold on to. He walked up to every single one of these things, pulled his butt cheeks out, and put his booty juice on every single one of these poles. just leaving streaks everywhere. What are we doing as a species that we think that this is okay behavior? What are we doing? What are we doing that we think that this is okay behavior? Let me tell you something right now. If I get on public transportation and realize or see that someone has put their booty juice all on the things that I need to keep myself from falling over, because let me tell you something, I'm 6'3", and I'm about 3 biscuits over 400 pounds. If I start falling, I ain't stopping. And I'm taking everyone on whatever direction I'm falling over. They're coming down with me. Right? So I do hold on to these poles. And if I find out that someone put their booty juice on these poles, ooh, baby, I'm not a fighter, but someone might catch some hands. I might pull a Braun Strowman. You gonna get these hands. Right? That's crazy, bro. That's really crazy. And then the last opening thought that I had. Kara in the Discord. Posted this thing, and we talked about it in the DMs as well, about Mattress Firm being a potential scam. And I've seen people talk about this before. It's not like a brand new idea, but it is an interesting idea because there are a couple points that get brought up when people talk about Mattress Firm being a scam, and a lot of the conspiracies about it is that that they have to be funneling money, right? Doing something illegal to stay in business. And that's the conspiracy. We're going to break down that for a minute here, because I do find it interesting. But I do also think that there's a legitimate business reason for why we feel the way we feel about Mattress Firm. So first off, we all know what Mattress Firm is, right? I can't see your hands, obviously, but like, how many of y'all have ever, raise your hands in spirit here. How many of y'all have ever seen more than 2 people in a Mattress Firm at any point in time? And one of those people is the salesman or manager. Right? There's one literally probably 2 minutes from my house. I drive by it a lot on the way to Walmart or wherever I'm going. Right? I don't ever recall seeing anyone in that store. Now let's think about the business model of a mattress store. You're buying a mattress, what? Once, maybe twice a decade? Depending on like what your family situation is. Like, for example, I just bought a new mattress. Now, I didn't buy it from Mattress Firm. I bought it from Amazon. I got a mattress in a box. Pretty damn good mattress for like $200, $300. No, I'm kidding. It's about $400. But pretty damn good mattress to come in a box, right? And that's another thing that I like. That I have like. Mattress Firm may go out of business, maybe, but the fact that you can buy mattresses on Amazon now and have it shipped to your house, you don't even have to leave, right? But let's just be honest. Like like I just bought a new mattress probably about 3 months ago. The mattress that I had before that was the same mattress, no lie, that I had since I was in high school. Like, no lie. I mean, the thing was probably 15 years old. Probably about 15, 16 years old. Like, it was beaten. It was caving in on itself. The springs weren't working anymore. I was practically just laying on, I have a platform, like, bed, right? And so I'm laying on these metal frame, basically, that it's pressing into my, right? That's why I ended up getting a new mattress, because I was essentially just sleeping on metal. There was nothing left of this mattress, right? You're buying a mattress, once every decade? Maybe twice if you have kids. But you're not buying a mattress every year. And if you are, you got some type of money. Let me get some piece. Let me get a couple G's. If you got money to be buying a mattress every year. Right? Mattress, like, there's not a market for repeat customers every year. Like, if you there are people who get new phones every year, and that's okay. I think that's a little bit excessive. But it's reasonable. People who get new cars every year, again, excessive, but reasonable. Even once or twice, like, I just upgraded my phone. I had an iPhone 13, but that came out, 5 years ago-ish? Just got a 16. Glad I got the 16 because the 17 looked like doo-doo. A waste of money, right? But I just, like, there's no market where continuous mattress buying is one of those, like, business markets where there is growth from a year-to-year basis. You get, like, one mattress, maybe two every 10 years or something, right? Maybe 3, depending on how you are. Some people may want a new mattress every 3 or 4 years. I think that's excessive. But again, who knows, right? And so, what's keeping them afloat? But let's actually figure out the solution, because I'm the type of person that's like, there's logical reasons why we think there's a conspiracy, but also why they're so empty. And the answer to why they're so empty is, if you haven't noticed, more than likely you have 2 or 3 within, like, miles of each other. The issue with their business plan is they expand it too quickly. Right? They expand it too quickly. They put way too many stores up, creating competition with themselves. And then what ended up happening is online retailers and other companies started doing mattress in a box. And now there's no need for Mattress Firm. How they're still in business, I have no idea. It's fun to think about. Let me know what y'all think. But again, I think it's fun to talk about it. I don't necessarily think there's an actual conspiracy. I don't think they're doing anything illegal. But it is fun to say that maybe there is some kind of reasoning behind it. Right? But with that being said, let's go in the ropes. Let's talk about some wrestling. So the first thing that I want to talk about, before we jump into WrestlePalooza, before we jump into NXT Homecoming, before we talk about any of that, there was a post that Junkyard James put in the Discord 2 days ago, I think. 3 days ago, something like that, about Cora Jade. And how much money she makes on OnlyFans versus what she made in WWE. And he posted this yesterday. The post said that her WWE income, her salary was about $70,000 a year, where her OnlyFans income for this year is $350,000. Right? Now, I'm not going to question the numbers. I don't necessarily care that much about questioning the numbers. the issue that I have with this is now I'm not saying that's what James did, but sharing that, and all that does is try to justify this move to OnlyFans. Like as if money is the only thing that's important. Right? And so my response to it is the same response I'll have no matter who it is that I would rather have the $70K and my dignity. Because sure, she's making bank right now. I'm sure she is. But at some point, she's going to look back at what she's putting on the internet. And look back and maybe have some type of regret. She has no dignity to me, right? Like okay, so you're just another one of these, and I'm going to say it's provocative, but she's essentially a legal prostitute. So sure, she makes $350K a year, probably more. Good for her. But she's a legal prostitute. And then people will get upset. People will get upset when you say that. But that's what she is. It's literally her job. And so I think the idea of posting this and kind of like normalizing, and again, I don't think that's what James was, I'm not going to put his intention that was what it was. But I think whoever made the graphic and posted it originally was trying to normalize women selling themselves, because look at the bag that she got, right? And that's sort of the purpose that sort of gets thrown out there, like, oh, look, she catch that bag. Now everyone should do it. And but Cora did bring up a good point. If she really cared about wrestling, AEW would have paid her more than WWE was. She could have made, 150, 200,000 probably a year, if not more, from Tony Khan. I thoroughly believe she could have. And so I don't understand why we would parade this type of behavior, right? That's just me, though. The second thing we're going to talk about in between the ropes here is, for the first time since I got back into wrestling, I've said this numerous of times, I grew up knowing about WWE, but that was all I knew about wrestling growing up was WWE. It was Stone Cold Rock. I knew who The Undertaker was. I remember being absolutely just frightened over Doink the Clown. But once I turned like 8 or 9, like I really didn't watch wrestling. So I missed like the early, or the later portions of like the Ruthless Aggression era. I missed early PG era, stuff like that, right? I didn't really come back into wrestling until about January of 2014. And I was about 17 at the time, right? And my friend Cody got me back into wrestling, and my first pay-per-view that I remember watching is Royal Rumble, CM Punk's last event before he took his hiatus, Royal Rumble 2014. And everything that came out of that. And since that time, there's been some highs and there's been some lows, and there's been times where I'm like, the product sucks. But it's now the first time in 11 and a half years where I'm not at all interested in watching WWE. Like, I didn't even have any FOMO about missing Monday Night Raw last night. I didn't care about it, didn't even care to look at what happened. I don't even know what happens. I haven't read any reviews. I haven't watched anything about last night's Monday Night Raw. I just don't care. And I wonder I wonder how many more people are like me, who they want to care, but they just don't care. And they're in this middle where I want to care, but I like wrestling. It's not that I hate pro wrestling. I'm just not interested in it. There's no company right now that's putting on a product that entertains me, right? And there's far more better ways to spend a Monday night or a Friday night or a PLE night. You know, I like Tuesdays, bro, especially if we're about to get an invasion of TNA on NXT. Let me tell you something. NXT about to start cooking. We might have to start recording this episode on Monday nights. That might be the move. I liked doing that last week. That might be the move. Seeing that I don't watch Monday Night Raw, the issue with that is doing Deep 5 and not having I'm not being able to watch the Monday night games. And so, I don't know. We'll probably work something out to where, for now we'll plan on keeping them on Tuesdays. But that may be the move to move in the Monday nights for me so that I can watch NXT. If NXT starts cooking, we're probably going to start recording on Monday nights. And so, I'm just not interested. There's not a single thing outside of NXT, but I don't call that WWE's product. I'm at the point now where it's part of WWE, but the booking and how they run the product is vastly different than mainstream WWE, that I do think it's okay to consider it another company. And that's the only thing I really care about. But here's why I don't care about the main WWE product. It's far too commercial. Now, I'm the first one, and I know there's going to be someone like Junkyard James who's going to come in, you said you should, you've been saying for years that the wrestling company should promote for the mainstream casual fan. 100%, I have said that. What my intention was is that you should have a product that the casual fan can watch and enjoy. And they don't have to do too much to understand the product. What I didn't say should happen was that WWE should sell out two corporations simply for a check. And that's exactly what the company has done since TKO became a thing, because Endeavor bought the company. Since Endeavor bought the company, WWE is solely focused, because Endeavor wants to make money. Any chance they get to make a big money deal, they're going to take it. And so if they say, hey, let's put logos on the tables to promote Slim Jim. Let's put logos on every part of the ring to promote companies. Let's start running PLEs on ESPN. Charge $30 a month for a large majority of the fan base. And then give them commercials after each match. Right? And so they're too commercialized. It's too mainstream. This isn't me trying to gatekeep the product from the casuals. What needs to happen, though, is you can't sell out two corporations and then expect people to continue to watch. Especially when the product you're giving them is far from being good. It's not even decent, right? It's plain bad, if I have to be honest. Right? So your main booking, your stories should be interesting enough for the casuals to watch, but also deep and have some depth and something for the casuals to watch and take hold of and be able to say, this is my show, right? If you're a fan of a show like, let's just say NCIS, right? And you watch that show, sure, there's a lot that happens on NCIS that's the show is easy enough to watch that anyone who hasn't watched the show before can watch the show and understand what's going on. That's what I mean, by the way, when you should book for the casuals. That the show isn't too nuanced or too gate-kept that only the people who watch your show understand it. It's an easy watch that you don't have to know the ins and outs of everything to enjoy the show, right? But if you watch NCIS, there's a story that goes through, and if you don't pay attention to all the details, there are some inside jokes or inside storylines that you have to understand to get some of the right? And that's how wrestling should be. There should be storylines. There should be something that, hey, you should be rewarded for understanding the history of why Brock Lesnar and John Cena hate each other. Or like, you should be rewarded for having the knowledge of their feud. But at the same time, the current feud should be entertaining enough that a new viewer can watch it and want to know more about it. Right? I think a lot of times we take what I say about casuals, where it has to be easy enough for a casual fan to watch. When I say that, I'm talking about like the first 2 or 3 watches. Right? Because here's what should happen. There is a I talk about this all the time. There is a responsibility as a fan for you to come to an understanding of the product. That doesn't mean that you book the show and say, Google it. What it means is that if you're watching the show and you're hooked, you should, if you don't know what's going on, you should be willing as a fan, and you should want, it's not that you have to do it, it's that you want to dive deeper to figure out why this and this and this is happening. And WWE doesn't have a reason for, right? WWE is just taking random people, putting them in matches, and expecting stories to come out of it, and it's not good. Let's just be honest. It's not good. So I'm just not interested in the product. And that's a sad thing for me, right? And I know what a lot of AEW fans want to say. Well, come on over. Your show sucks too, bruh. Let's just be honest. Your show isn't good either. You put on an 8-hour PLE last weekend. And outside of AEW fans, no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. I haven't seen one thing outside of AEW sicko fans talk about it. Right? And so I have zero care in the world about WWE right now and what they're doing. Because usually I would either go and be like, Monday Night Raw's over, let me go check the 10-minute highlights. Or let me go watch JD from NY give his two, I'll wake up Tuesday morning and be like, let me listen to what he got to say about it, because he can break down the show. I don't even care to listen to him anymore. I don't listen to wrestling podcasts. I haven't in about 2-3 weeks. I stopped looking for anything that has to do wrestling related, because I just don't care. I like the business. I love the product. When it's good, I'm just at a point with it right now. Outside of NXT, it's a little bit meh, right? So next thing that I want to talk about is a little bit controversial, but when has WETOODEEP ever stepped back from controversy? We got to go back to basically about 2 years ago when WETOODEEP got canceled on TikTok. Essentially had everyone mad at WETOODEEP for asking questions. And the same thing's happening now. So there's a post. It's in the Discord. I think Kara posted it. Maybe it's a DM. I don't know. I don't remember. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think she posted it in the Discord, so it is there because I remember posting in there essentially this comment. But the post is Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch wore the Suicide Awareness Month colors, and AJ Lee, I guess, had the pride flag painted on the bottom of her shoes. And the page that I saw who posted this separately outside of from what Kara said, their comment was something like, good for these four, awareness needs to be spread or whatever, right? And all that my opinion on this is, I did the same thing that I did on TikTok in 2023 when CM Punk gets pictured in AEW holding up a support trans youth sign. My comment wasn't about the LGBTQ. My comment was only about the response the IWC has. Has nothing to do with the companies, has nothing to do with the workers. It's solely about how the IWC reacts when CM Punk and AJ Lee, or where AJ Lee paints the pride flag on her shoes, right? First off, suicide awareness is something that I'm actually very in favor of. Something we need to talk about. Especially here's the thing. These people who praise them for suicide awareness, they never do. First off, they never do anything to actually help in this area. But the number one area, and I'm just going to spit facts for a minute here, because here's what happened, right? About 2 weeks ago, you took out the one that wants to have peaceful conversation, and we've talked about him. We've talked about Charlie quite a bit in the last couple days. And what that did was it woke up the rest of us who try to be peaceful, didn't want to bring things up like that. Guys, that's over now, right? I'm going to call out double standards. Yeah, and I don't even care. I don't care. I have zero cares in the world anymore. Right? Because the time for conversation is over. We need to shame degenerate activity and like we used to. You did something degenerate, you got put in the stocks, you got put in the town square, and people laughed in your face. And you know what that was supposed to do? It was supposed to make you think about what you were doing that was degenerate so that you wouldn't do it again. By the way, that's actually where we get the word fuck from. Oh, WETOODEEP, I thought you were working on your cussing. No. Let's actually talk about this for a minute. The word fuck, F-U-C-K, is actually an acronym that the church used in Middle Age England and Europe. It stands for, it literally stands for unlawful carnal knowledge. So whenever you got caught in adultery or in, some kind of sexual act that was forbidden by the church, and understand at the time the church was essentially the government in the Middle Age Europe, right? So whenever you got found doing something that was essentially illegal, they would arrest you, take you to the town square, put you in the stocks, and then they would put your crime on a piece of wood on the stocks above your head. Right? And I guess someone got lazy, or whoever's job it was to write for unlawful carnal knowledge on the sign just said, you know what, I'm tired of this. We're just going to put the acronym. People know what it means. And that's where we get the word fuck from. Just a little bit of knowledge. Again, English is a living language, meaning that the definitions change, so I wouldn't say use it all the time. But just a little bit of knowledge for you all. But I lost my train of thought just going on that rabbit hole. But yeah, we need to shame this type of behavior, right? And like I said, I don't have any cares in the world anymore, right? All that I said in response to this post was, and I'm going to read straight from what I posted. Straight from what I posted. Guarantee as I open up Facebook, I probably have another person giving me a comment because I've been getting them for like 3 days. All I posted was, but if a wrestler came out with a quote, "I am Charlie Kirk" shirt or some other conservative message along the lines of Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, if the next time they went to Knoxville, Tennessee, if Kane was on the screen in a Make America Great Again hat or Make Tennessee Great Again hat or something, everyone knows that Kane is the Republican mayor of Knox County in Knoxville, Tennessee, right? If someone like that, if something like that would have happened, or if Nathan Frazier, I love Nathan Frazier, bro. If Nathan Frazier wore, who, by the way, if you check out his social media, he's very open. He's newly converted to Christianity as of a couple months, maybe years ago, but he's very, very vocal on this. Right, I love Nathan Frazier, bro. He, not just because he's a very, very good wrestler, but bro, I love that dude, bro. And so if Nathan Frazier came out with an armband or on his tape on his wrist and wrote "For Charlie" on it, the IWC would crash the hell out. And all I said was, there's a double standard. And for the last 24 hours, I have been getting my notifications blown up. Hundreds of comments of the most ignorant stuff. People who don't know how to read, apparently. Because again, I can't tell you how many times I've had comments of but Triple H was just at the White House. I didn't say the company. I didn't say anything about the company. I said the IWC would crash out. I'm talking about there's a double standard among the fans and how they respond, not how the companies respond, how the fans respond. If the fans saw something conservative, they would spaz out. Tell me that I'm wrong. I know I'm not, because Jackson Riker got fired for essentially being a conservative. Drake Younger, who I can't think of his WWE name. He was a referee in NXT, one of the most popular ones. You would have noticed him. He got essentially let go because of he got spotted at a Trump rally in 2020, and he made some comments back then about the vaccines and masks and stuff like that during COVID. Again, that's not the point, but he got released. Right? We see people find out that someone like Tiffany Stratton or Jacob Fatu may lean a little bit to the right. I wonder how fans are gonna react when they see the photo of Ron DeSantis and Jimmy Uso. I don't know, man. All that I wanted to point out was there was a double standard. And some of the most ignorant comments from people, some of the nasty, I've got a couple nasty responses One I just got when I told you I was opening my phone. There was one where it's a meme. Excuse my language while I say this. This fucking pussy locked his account up because, God forbid, he doesn't want to pay for his account, for his actions. He doesn't want to be held responsible for what he says. So he's going to lock his account. No one can see anything that's not his friend. And then he's going to post a meme of Charlie Kirk the moment the bullet hit his neck, saying Charlie Kirk finally leaning left on gun issues. That's crazy, bruh. Some people say some of the craziest things behind a keyboard. Right? And I keep seeing all of this. Charlie Kirk's a racist and a fascist. And first off, that's not the point that I was making. You guys are completely missing the point. And you kind of bought the bait that I gave you, right? You kind of bought the bait that I gave you by mentioning Charlie Kirk. You're proving my point. You're proving my point. You guys would spaz out if a conservative wore a conservative message, right? On TV. And the point that I want to actually get to, not talking about how my social media life is going right now with all these notifications, but because here's what I'm not proposing is people wearing conservative messaging. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I actually would prefer as a conservative, what I would prefer is that we stop with social activism altogether. The wrestling ring is not for you to preach an agenda. Your job is to entertain and to wrestle. And I feel that way about every sporting event. You could be an activist online. You can be an activist off the clock. But when you're in between the ropes, play your character. And that's my biggest issue. Like what does wearing the pride flag on the bottom of your shoe? That's not your character, AJ. That's not your character. Right? Just as much as if Nathan Fraser walked out in that's not his character. If Kane came back and as the mayor, that's not his gimmick. He shouldn't come back that way. Right? And so that's all my point is instead of all the social activism to try to get credit and points with certain people who want everything to be activism. By the way, that's kind of like a core tenet of Marxism, is that everyone is an activist. And every part of life is a place to be an activist. And some of us, we just want to be entertained. Right? It's part of the reason why, I don't catch first off, what you wear, I don't catch a lot of these references. One, because I'm very uncultured when it comes to pop culture, right? And so when these female wrestlers in particular love to cosplay, I don't know what you're doing, because I'm very uncultured when it comes to pop culture. I'll be honest with you, but I'm not looking at the gear that you're wearing and being like, oh, what a message. I'm not trying to connect a cause or an agenda to your gear unless you painfully make it clear. For example, Sami Zayn, CM Punk, Becky Lynch have all worn Palestine colors in the last 3 months. And they made it very painfully clear that's what they were supporting. Right? But again, if Paul Heyman came out with the Jewish flag, or if MJF came out with the Jewish flag, even in doing heel work, oh boy, that would get torn to pieces. Play your character. That's all you need to do. Play your character. Stop the social activism. Stop trying to push agendas. Get in between the ropes. Put on a good match. Play your character. Entertain the fans. And to the weirdos who want them to be social activists, that's not their job. Seth Rollins doesn't get paid. Becky Lynch doesn't get paid. Now, if it's a little bit different, if WWE has a partnership for Suicide Awareness Month, and it's part of the partnership, and it gets promoted on the show, we're gonna put, you know, the colors. I think it's teal and purple. We're gonna put those colors around the ring, and people are gonna wear bracelets or whatever. That's fine. If it's part of the show, that's your job to support that. And again, I don't have an issue with it. What I have an issue with is people trying to be activists. And it's more so towards AJ Lee, because let's be honest, as we transition into WrestlePalooza and what I thought about it, AJ Lee, you didn't look much different than you did 10 years ago in the ring. But we'll talk about this. First off, I didn't pay $30 for this show. And I'm so glad I didn't. I watched this on TikTok from someone else's TV screen on a TikTok live. I don't know how the channel stayed up, how the stream had 0 issues all night. I don't know how that happened and how the big mouse didn't find out. Here's what I got to say. Show kind of sucked. 5 matches, and there was one match that I left saying, you know what? That was a really good match. And that's literally what saved this show from being an F. This show, to me, is a C- solely because that is how good Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky are. That was a really good match. Result was kind of predictable, but a really good match. Everything else around that match was very, very, very disappointing. You start with Cena Lesnar, and it's essentially a squash match where John Cena in his retirement tour, having 2 matches left after this, more than likely, gets squashed by Brock Lesnar. That's absolutely crazy booking. Insane booking. We know he's got AJ Styles, Cena does, at Crown Jewel. And I think he's got one final match at a Saturday night's main event. And he might do Saturday night's main event in Salt Lake City, I'm assuming. Well, okay, so he's got Crown Jewel. He'll probably be a part of Survivor Series in some way. And I guess he's got one final match against his final opponent in DC. My guess is saying his final match is going to be against The Rock. I think at some point Dwayne's going to show back up. He's gonna call out Cena. He's gonna end this thing. They're gonna try to put a bow on it. Possibly it could be part of War Games. I don't know how that. The stories don't make sense anyway right now. So you might as well just make it more of a clusterfuck. I really don't know how that would happen, but I think at some point Rock will show up, challenge Cena. Cena's last match will end the trilogy of Cena and Rock, and hopefully send them both home out of sight of the ring for the rest of eternity. Yeah, I don't know. That match was just awful. The match after it, between Braun and Bronson and the Usos, wasn't much better. Not quite certain what the point of this match was. Really bad start. You then get to match 3, in which we just talked about with Io and Stephanie, the greatest match of the night. Really good match. Before we move on past that, we waited 45 minutes until the first bell rung for the first match to begin, after some long entrances and a whole bunch of other stupid shit Triple H has to do to start every show. We then get to the second match, and we have what feels like 45 minutes of entrance to get Braun and Bronson in the ring, to get the Usos in the ring. We have commercials throughout all of this. Intermission, essentially. And then we get the match, and it wasn't all that good. And then you get some more commercials. And you get a really decent match with Stephanie. A really good match with Stephanie and Io. And then you get some more commercials. You get some more of that stupidity. Here's my thing, man. Could we not have fit the women's world or Tiffany Stratton, this match that's happening on Friday? Could we not have fit that on the card in place of Cena and Lesnar or Braun Bronson or whatever? Could we not have taken Braun and Bronson versus the Usos out? Because that's a Monday night match, a Monday Night Raw match that could have happened. You didn't have to have that on a PLE. And put on a title. Could Becky Lynch not defend a title? I know, but we'll talk about that. AJ Lee pins Becky Lynch. That's all you need to know about the match, because there wasn't much else really interesting about the match. AJ Lee pins Becky Lynch, or doesn't pin, but taps her out. There's a logical reason for this if they want to chase it. AJ Lee can now get a title match against Becky Lynch, probably at Crown Jewel. AJ Lee's probably going to win at Crown Jewel, win the title, and then we're going to get a special debut, a return of Paige. I'm 100% predicting this because I know Triple H loves nostalgia. Paige will return in the same fashion that she debuted on the main roster, by challenging AJ Lee and immediately winning the title from AJ Lee, possibly maybe setting up a feud, who knows. But Triple H is a nostalgia junkie for no reason. And then we end the show with Cody versus Drew, in a match that Cody told Triple H have Drew win, but they didn't listen. Cody Rhodes wins this match for no reason whatsoever. We now go into Crown Jewel with Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes for the big Crown Jewel belt. I guess it makes sense so Cody can defend it, but it's not like he's carrying the belt around. He's not an active champion for the belt. It's sort of just a reward for winning at the event, sort of like the Super Bowl. Crown Jewel starts at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Let me see. What day is that? Crown Jewel Perth is October the 11th. So it's in like 2 weeks. It's an 8 a.m. start on a Saturday. And for a show that I don't give two cares in the world about. And if you think that I'm going to... First, if I got to work that day. So if you think that I'm going to try to watch it, I'm not. I don't care about it. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Hey, that's WrestlePalooza for you, right? It was a clusterfuck of an event. Excuse my language. It's the best word to describe it, though. I guess I could say a fustercluck to keep it pure. But it was a waste of time, I'll be honest with you. And I only watched to watch Stephanie Vaquer win the title. And so I got what I wanted, right? But here's what's even crazier. Before we talk about NXT Homecoming, here's what's even crazier. ESPN gave WrestlePalooza a C-, or I think it was a C, actually, grade. They gave last night's Monday Night Raw an F. Are they having buyer's remorse? That's crazy. You can't even get your host for your PLEs to at least lie and say the show was decent. They gave you an F for Monday Night Raw, which tells me everything I need to know about the show, that it was just the same old, same old. There's nothing going on, no real stories being built, just matches for the sake of, it's AEW. It's that AEW time frame when like nothing made sense and people started tuning out. Well, that's exactly what WWE is right now. And they got the Netflix deal, and they got the ESPN deal, and they got the Saudi WrestleMania deal, and they're getting all this money, and they don't care about the product that they're giving you. And ESPN's calling it out, saying that the show was bad, was an F. Whew. That's crazy. And then last thing I want to talk about is NXT Homecoming from last Tuesday. I am kind of conflicted on how I feel about the show. Here's the thing, because I talk about nostalgia booking all the time. Here's the thing about what NXT Homecoming was. First off, we went into this understanding this episode no different than Raw 1000 or a SmackDown 25-year anniversary or 25 years of Edge or whatever. Like, we knew going in that this show was 100% nostalgia. And I don't have a problem with that. Right? Because some of the moments, for example, Sami Zayn coming on the screen to put over Javon Evans, it still pushed storyline, right? But I understood coming in that you were going to get nostalgia you were going to get William Regal on the screen to do one thing, and it's the one thing that he did. War Games. That's all he was there for, to get the little nostalgia pop and get off the screen. Do I think NXT is going to have War Games? No. I don't. I think William Regal was there to simply be on TV to get the pop. Ciampa and Gargano playing there, and No One Can Survive. Greatest theme song in NXT history, by the way. To hear that again, and to hear I think they played Rebel Heart for Johnny Gargano. I don't remember. It's been a week, right? To see Charlotte and Alexa out there. The match wasn't really important. It was it was all about Homecoming. It was supposed to be nostalgic. And they still pushed some resemblance of storyline along in through the night. That is how nostalgia is supposed to be booked. Now, we have the question of, like, they some people said they want more people from Black and Gold. The issue with that is, like Adam Cole, he's in AEW. He was not available. Mercedes was not available. You think of some of the bigger names in NXT history, Neville or Pac, right? He's in AEW, right? A lot of them, right? I know B-Master, you said something about you wanted to see the Shield. Here's the thing. I don't think of the Shield as being part of NXT. I think of the Shield as being, like, they debuted on the main roster as the Shield. Sure, Seth Rollins was the first ever champion, right? I think the only thing else that I would have wanted that we didn't get, for example, and B-Master makes good points that there were people they could have used. They could have used a Bayley. They could have used Carmella, even though she doesn't work for the company anymore. But like they could have called her up and said, hey, they could have, same thing with Corbin. He mentioned Emma. The thing with Emma is I don't necessarily know if, first off, I don't know where she works nowadays. I don't know if she works on the indies or whatnot. But also, like, I don't think of Emma as, like, a mainstream NXT talent. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. It would have got a little bit of a pop. It would have been nice to see Fandango out there with Tyler Breeze. It would have been nice to see if they could have gotten what I think is the greatest tag team in NXT history. Connor and Victor, why can't the Ascension? I think that's the greatest tag team in NXT history. I would have loved to see them. I know Gable's hurt. I would have loved to see Gable and Jason Jordan like backstage together. As a nostalgia moment. I don't think they did bad with the nostalgia. I don't have a critique on that. At all. I don't. I think the show it did what it set out to do. I don't have a lot of complaints. The matches weren't all that entertaining. But again, I don't think they came out to be. What last week did do though was set up Trick versus Oba. I think, right, that's what they set up, right? For tonight. And throughout the night, they were showing TNA wrestlers frustrated with that so that they can get the invasion. Last week was Homecoming. It was 100% get people to watch for the nostalgia. And then they set up a potential invasion. That was the entire purpose of that show last week, was to set up, are these people going to invade NXT? And if they do, what does that mean? Is there War Games actually going to be involved? What does an invasion angle look between TNA and WWE? Who plays what side? It does a lot. I think we also get like storyline with like Charlie going to Japan. I think that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. What's Ren Sinclair going to do? Can we get her in the ring, please? I think NXT Homecoming was a very successful show. Was it an A+? No. It was like a B+, though. It was a really, really good show. I think it set out to do what it needed to do. And that's all that I can ask for. It entertained me for 2 hours, and that's all that I can ask for, right? That's all that I could do and ask for. So let's then move on to the gridiron. Let's go fourth and deep. I know this is an NFL segment, but I need to pause for a minute, and I need to talk about college football, in particular my college football team, the Clemson Tigers. Hey, yo, bruh, what are we doing? We had a bye week this week. There is no reason why that whole staff is not fired. I would have already done it. I would have done it Saturday. We got embarrassed. We've been embarrassed every single week of the season so far. Look, I can forgive losing to LSU because LSU is a top 5 team in the nation. But we got embarrassed by LSU. Look, I know there's a win by Troy, but we got embarrassed by Troy. And we came out against Syracuse and got absolutely mollywopped. Embarrassed. And this isn't talent. We have one of the most talented teams on paper. On offense, on defense. This is coaching. This is 100% a coaching issue. Hey, look, we got Highlander, who's a Florida Gators fan in the Discord. I think he can say the same thing. I mean, Florida started as a top 15 team in the nation, right? But a lot of this comes down to coaching. Look, Billy Napier is probably going to be fired, and Dabo Swinney should join him on the unemployment list. Garrett Riley, the OC, needs to be gone. He needs to be gone. Here's why. I read something so Saturday, I was irritated on Saturday, right? There's no reason for this team to lose to Syracuse at home. There's no reason for it. With as talented, we had like 6 or 7 projected first or second round picks in this upcoming NFL draft on our team. We have the most talented roster we've had since Trevor Lawrence was on the team. And probably even before then, the most talented roster we have ever had was in the Deshaun Watson years. But let's go back and talk about Dabo Swinney. And first off, this may irritate Clemson fans if they hear this. Dabo Swinney is not a good football coach. You know what he is? He's a very good motivator. He's a very good recruiter. He's very good at convincing people to buy into a system. But he would fit really well as someone's athletic director. But here's what happened in the world of college sports that completely made all of that worthless. Everything that is good about Dabo Swinney is completely worthless in the world of college football because of 2 things. Those 2 things are the transfer portal and NIL. You don't have to buy into a system when you can buy into getting paid. And it's all about playing time and making it to the pros. Or if you're not going to make it to the pros, at least going to a system that's going to pay you for your time. And Dabo Swinney refuses to use the transfer portal. Guess what? The best player on the field on the defense is the only guy he got from the transfer portal in the offseason out of Purdue. That's the only dude on defense that seems to give one care. TJ Parker's checked out. Peter Woods is checked out. The secondary is non-existent, it feels like. The linebackers aren't there. The only dude who cares is, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Helt, Heldt. I think that's what his name is. But he's the only guy we got out of the transfer portal. And he's the only dude who cares on that defense. Because TJ Parker and Peter Woods knows that in about October, November, December, January, February, in about 7 months, they're about to be first or second round draft picks. You go on the offensive side. So first of all, that's a coaching issue. That's getting your players to give 100%. There used to be a slogan in Clemson football that Dabo Swinney started. Said we're going to go all in. And Dabo Swinney used to hand out poker chips that said all in on it. And before you ran down the hill, you put your chip in a bucket. And you were pledging to give yourself. Before that, Frank Howard, who the rock that we touch on the way down the hill, he had a slogan that used to be a thing at Clemson. No matter how good the team was, if he would say this: if you ain't going to give me 110%, keep your filthy hand off my rock. Dabo, we got to get that back into Clemson. We got former Clemson players calling us out that there's no heart on this team, and they're not wrong. As much as I want to blame Dabo, though, and I do think Dabo Swinney's outlived his coaching tenure in college football. He's no different than Nick Saban. Saban didn't want to give in to the portal and NIL. And you can have your opinions on those things, right? You can have your opinions on those things. But Dabo's outlived his tenure. The league no longer is run the same way he does, and he refuses to adapt. And so Clemson is very obvious. You have to fire the staff. Get rid of everyone. Because here's where this is where I put the blame on Dabo. Instead of going out and getting actual position coaches, you just hire all your buddies. Because it worked with Brandon Streeter. It worked with Tony Elliott. It worked with, what was his name? The other offensive coordinator. I don't remember his name, right? But it worked with them. I can hire friends and former players from my team. C.J. Spiller's a good running back. He should make a good coach. And I'm right. Spiller's a good coach. He right. Here's where we lack. There's no development. No one gets better on this team. No one gets better on this team. Everyone's the same as they were when they first stepped foot. And we got some talented people there, but there's no development. Lincoln Riley's brother, Garrett Riley, offensive coordinator, should have been gone last year. Garrett Riley should have been gone last year because what he ended up doing is coming into a system that was a spread offense that worked. It had run the spread offense since the Taj Boyd days in the late 2000s, early 2010s, since Dabo Swinney took head coaching job in 2008, that offense had always been a spread offense under Chad Morris, under every single guy behind Chad Morris. We ran a spread offense. So then you bring in Garrett Riley, who uses the air raid offense, had one good year at TCU, brings the air raid to Clemson with players who have never run the air raid before. Because every single person who recruits are recruiting people like Cade Klubnik who played spread offense in high school. So you get people who are good at running the spread offense and they're running air raid and it doesn't work. Well, who would have thought that would have happened? Why are we not running the spread offense? Dabo never carries a play sheet, but he has to now because he's never run an air raid offense. So he doesn't even know the playbook. How are you supposed to be the head coach if you don't know your own playbook? So as much as blame as I want to put on Dabo Swinney, and he gets the blame for being the head coach, he should be gone. All the position players need to be gone. But Garrett Riley, he needs to be gone. There is no question about it. Garrett Riley should be, at least him, should be fired during the bye week. We can go back to running the spread offense, implement the spread offense, and see where that goes. Clemson football is despicable, though, bruh. It's despicable. We got a bye week this week, and then we got Bill Belichick's Tar Heels as we go with the Chapel Bill in a week. So that's on TV, by the way, if you want to watch the two worst teams in the ACC play each other. I think Stanford's better than us. I think Cal Berkeley's better than us. I think Boston College is better than us, at least from the product we've already seen. I think I'll give it back. I think Virginia Tech's the worst team in the ACC. They lost to Old Dominion. But we got some pretty bad teams here in UNC and Clemson playing on live TV where we're going to probably get embarrassed again. But now that we're done with that, let's talk about the NFL. Week 3. It was a decent week, right? It was a week of blocked field goals. I think the Browns had one. Happened in the Rams game, I think. And Jordan Davis took one like 84 yards to secure the Eagles' victory. Big boy was running. Run, big boy, go. Week 3 was an interesting week, for sure. I don't know. So here's the thing. This was the first week I really didn't pay attention to any of the other games outside of the Patriots game. Because I'll be honest with you, the memorial for Charlie Kirk was on, and I was watching that. I paid a lot of attention to that. And that thing went like 7 hours long. So as soon as the Patriots game was over, I had the Patriots on the TV in my room, and I had the memorial on my phone with a headphone in. I don't listen to commentators, so I just muted it and listened to the memorial. And then as soon as the Patriots game was over, I just turned the memorial on the TV. So I didn't really watch a lot of the other games outside of the Patriots this week. So I don't really have much of a week 3 recap outside of, I know, like, the 49ers, bro, got the worst luck when it comes to health. Like, Nick Bosa is out for the rest of the year. Mac Jones was out there slinging the football, partially injured. That dude's a monster, bruh. I don't know. Man. Speaking of the Patriots, let's go to the Patriot Corner. We should have won this game. That's all I'm going to say. The defense played outstanding football. Oh, this defense makes me happy. Just like I knew it would. But let me tell you what doesn't make me happy. 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers does not make me happy. At all. Look, how many times does Ramondre Stevenson have to fumble the ball before you get rid of him? Because he had this problem last year, right? He had this problem last year where he fumbled the ball a lot. And if I'm not mistaken, he had this problem in Oklahoma. Right? He had a good rookie year, and ever since then, Ramondre Stevenson has not proven to be a number 1 running back. So then he fumbles twice. So then here's the idea. Let's put in, Antonio Gibson. And then he fumbles. And never once did it ever cross the mind to, hey, we just drafted probably the greatest college running back in the draft this offseason in Travion Henderson. And we got him in the second round. And he did really well in the preseason. And when you give him the ball, he gets like 5 yards a carry. And you're going to only give him the ball like 7 times. That's a little bit crazy to me. When he's the only one that didn't fumble running the football. It's a little bit crazy. Turnovers killed us. Penalties have killed us this year. I know it's early. We should be 2-1 right now. And if we're being honest, we probably should have beat the Raiders too. We should be undefeated right now. But at least 2-1. We should have beat the Steelers. We beat ourselves. The Steelers did not play good football at all. The defense did its job. Outside of the one play where DK mossed whoever was covering him, I think it was Carlton Davis, that was probably the worst play we had on defense. Aaron Rodgers was average, but nothing to write home about. Turnovers are literally what killed us. There were at least 2 in the red zone that would have put us up and had us win the game. I don't get it, bro. I really don't. This team should be better than what it is. And I'm hoping we get this thing fixed. Will Campbell's doing a decent job. I like that. Drake May's doing a decent job. The offense clicks a little bit. We just got to stop with the turnovers. That's all we got to do. We got to clean that up. And let's play the playmakers. Travion Henderson earned the starting job in the preseason. Why is he getting like 7 carries a game? Let him play. I can't wait for Christian Gonzalez to get healthy. Efton Chisholm was out on injury this week, so I can't wait for him to come back. Pop Davis played a little bit down. Booty dropped a couple balls. We had the craziest little thing from our announcer on a penalty. Where the announcer was like, "Oh man, he grabbed Booty," and I don't know his name, but I know J.J. Watt was the other guy, and he was losing it. But yeah, the Patriots are good. Now the next thing to talk about in football is I didn't do it on this particular program, the Slapping Meat Slapping Meat Community Show, but when I ran Slapping Meat Gridiron, I think those videos are still up on YouTube. You can't get them on audio. That has been erased. But I made preseason predictions, and one of them was before Week 8, Jackson Dart would be the starting quarterback of the New York Giants. Well, we're in Week 4, and that's exactly what happened. The Giants officially announced they are benching Russell Wilson. for Jackson Dart. And hopefully that's good for the Giants because they kind of were disappointing this week against the Chiefs. Hopefully that helps them a lot. But speaking of who was good and who was not in Week 3, we do have this week's Deep 5. I want to remind everyone as you're listening, this is not who I think, this isn't like a power rankings for the whole year. This is who I think were the best teams of the week. Who was the best teams for Week 3? Let's start at number 5. I'm going to put the Baltimore Ravens again in another loss effort, but they scored 31 points on what might be the best defense on paper in what was an absolutely glorious football game last night. I still think that's going to be the Super Bowl that we're going to get. The Ravens have an interesting schedule ahead of them. I think they got the Chiefs still, and I know they got the Patriots, but I think they also got the Eagles. I could be wrong, but I know they got the Chiefs this week, so they got an interesting schedule here. They could start 1-3, but I think they're going to ride home and make the playoffs, and I think the Ravens may be the best team in the AFC. Not 100% convinced yet. They got to start winning the big ones. But I think the Ravens-Lions could still be potentially a Super Bowl matchup. So the Ravens, even in defeat again, like they were against the Bills, one of the best teams in the league. At number 4, I'm going to put the Minnesota Vikings, who played the Bengals with Carson Wentz, the backup quarterback, starting. And this was absolutely absolute beatdown on the Bengals. 48-10, absolute beatdown on the just that's all I can say, right? And Carson Wentz played very well, right? And the Vikings had a very good week. And I think they're 2-1 now. They're 2-1. I think they're leading the division, or at least tie with the Packers. We'll talk about them here in a minute. But yeah, what a beatdown they had, right? Number 3, the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3-0, leading the division, and have found brand new life for a guy named Daniel Jones, who is absolutely killing it right now. 3rd in passing yards this season is Daniel Jones. By the way, Drake May's 5th. If you wanted, Dak Prescott's 4th in that list, by the way. So it's not like Dak is playing bad. The Cowboys just suck. Sorry, B-Master, I had to throw that in there. But not only do they have the 3rd best in passing yardage with Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor's the league leader in rushing right now. And so that's absolutely crazy. So they got an offense. And that's all that you need sometimes. You just need some players that can make plays. I still don't think Daniel Jones is like, James said a couple years ago that he's a top 10 quarterback. I don't know if I'd put him in that category. But Daniel Jones is playing good this year. And the Colts are cooking right now. And they look like they're a competent football team that could be on the way to the playoffs. Number 2 is the Detroit Lions. The other half of last night's awesome football thriller that we had last night. Back to form again with a dominant 4th quarter performance. And they got a defense that is, I think, the best in football. I honestly think it's the best in football. 100% think that. They had like 5 sacks last night. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 6 sacks last night on the Ravens. Detroit's one of the best teams in football. And my number one team of the week is the Carolina Panthers. Here's why. They put up a shutout against a team that I've heard all offseason in the Falcons might win the division. I've been told throughout the entire offseason, well, the Falcons are good, man. You better watch out. They're going to win the division. Now, I don't think the Panthers are at all a top 5 team in the league. But they were the best team last week. They had a shutout defensively. Played stud defense. Just dominated. I think fantasy-wise, their defense had like 23 points because they had a shutout. Bryce Young played well. It wasn't like they had any big-time plays for touchdowns. And Bryce Young wasn't by any means elite. He had 121 passing yards. But in the same vein that Jalen Hurts is, Bryce Young is a game manager. He comes out of the same sort of Alabama system that Jalen Hurts did. He's a game manager. And Carolina needs to take a page out of Philly's playbook and build a team around Bryce Young the way they're building a team around Jalen. And just let Bryce, be a game manager. He doesn't have to be a stud. He just needs to be a game manager. Here's what's crazy about this Panther defense. They had a shutout. But they didn't have a single sack defensively. They had a couple interceptions. They had 2 interceptions that were big. One went back for a touchdown. But overall, is the team good? Probably not at all. I don't think they're competitors. But they played the best game last week. And that's all this list is talking about. So there was some controversy because I posted the Deep 5 in the Discord earlier to try to get some comment on it to talk about it. I think I'm going to start doing that each week. It's releasing it Tuesday morning, or the morning I'm going to record, and seeing what the comments are. And it's well, what about the Bills? Well, what about them? They played like crap against the Miami Dolphins at home in a game you should have won. In a game on and I'm tired of, well, it was a short week. It was no, because everyone has to play a short week game. You're still expected to go out and do your job, right? That just sounds like an excuse to me, right? In a game in which you were, a game in which you were 10.5-point favorites, so essentially you were projected to win by 11. You don't cover the spread. You won't. Sure, you win by 10, but coming into the fourth quarter, you were up 21-14, and if it wasn't for Tua, completely giving the game away in the fourth quarter, they were on the edge of tying the game up, and Tua threw an interception. You didn't really win the game, in my opinion. There was a point in the game where Miami had about equal odds at the start of the fourth quarter. It was about equal odds for who was going to win the game, according to ESPN. Right? The thing that really won the Bills that game was the turnover by Tua. They got beat in a lot of different areas. Right? What really killed Miami was Tua turning the ball over. But my bigger point is you're not in the top 5 list because you're supposed to win this game. You're at home. Not only is it a short, because I'm tired of the short week excuse, because Miami had to play a short week, and Miami had to travel 12. Had to travel a couple 100 miles north. So I don't see the point in complaining about short week, because it's a short week for the Dolphins as well. Some other teams, that have been mentioned. What about the Rams? The Rams are a good team. What about the Eagles? They're 3-0. The Eagles are a decent team. They got issues. They're not one of the best 5 teams this week. The Rams are going to be crazy dangerous, I believe. The Buccaneers played well. So James said something about the Cardinals. And I laughed because the Cardinals lost to a hobbling Mac Jones in a game in which Bosa leaves early and pretty certain Kittle wasn't playing. I could be wrong. The Cardinals did not deserve to be on the list. The Chargers played well. Chargers probably could have made the list. They played well. I don't think they're better than any of the other teams this week, though. Herbert is really good, but we all knew he would be. Right? The Chargers are a really good team. Right? So now, the Chiefs, they're mid. The Chiefs are going to struggle this year. They're not on the list. They're not. I want to talk about one team, though, and that is Green Bay. What a disappointing way to lose that game, bro. I just got it. What a crazy way to lose that game. Anyway, let's make predictions for week 4 and then go into the questions from the Discord. All right, so week 4, trying to log in here so I can actually make my picks. I had a interesting week. Last week I had 9 predictions right. So I'm in a little league with a couple of my friends, and this is how close it is. I went from first to last, and I'm behind first place by 2 points. So every week matters in this little thing. So let's pick week 4. We got Thursday Night Football. Cardinals at home against the Seahawks. I'm going to pick the Seahawks. We got the London game, Vikings versus Dublin. Vikings at Steelers. This is tough. I'm going to go Steelers with this one. Commanders in Atlanta. I'm picking Washington. Saints are traveling to Buffalo. This is one of those games Buffalo should dominate the Saints. And if they win by less than 21, the Bills didn't do a good job. That's just my opinion. but the Bills win. Cleveland goes to Detroit. I'm picking Cleveland. Carolina comes to New England. I'm picking the Patriots. Chargers are going to the Giants. I'm picking the Chargers. Eagles go to Tampa. I know a lot of people want to pick Philly here. I'm picking Tampa to win this game. For whatever reason, Philly can't beat Tampa. Titans going to Houston. I'm picking the Titans because Houston looks like dog water right now. And that's where we're going to go. Indy goes to the Rams. I'm picking the Colts. They're hot right now. Jacksonville versus the Niners. Look, Kara's going to hate me for this one. I'm picking the Jags on this one. Ravens at Kansas City. I'm picking Baltimore. Bears in Vegas. Picking the Bears. Packers go to Dallas, and Micah Parsons will make a return. I am picking the Packers. The Jets go to Miami for Monday Night Football. We're going to get the Dolphins getting a win. And then the Bengals on Monday night against the Broncos. And I'm going to pick the Broncos. So that's my predictions for week 4. While I'm here. No, I'm kidding. I'm in an NCAA one too, but we're not going to talk about that. We'll go back and make those picks when I'm done recording this. Let's go to the questions at the Discord. But before I answer questions, allow me to ask you a question. Are you looking for an easy and simple way to get your protein? I may have the solution for you. Introducing Clear Whey Protein Powder, a refreshing, high-protein drink that transforms your post-workout routine. Crafted with pure whey protein isolate, this innovative formula offers a light and flavorful alternative to traditional protein shakes. With zero lactose and zero sugar, it caters to those seeking a clean, transparent approach to fitness nutrition without compromising on taste or quality. Our Clear Whey Protein stands out with its crystal clear appearance and refreshing flavors, making it the perfect companion for your active lifestyle. Whether you're hitting the gym or need a protein boost during the day, this drink seamlessly integrates into your routine. Elevate your daily protein intake with confidence and clarity. Choose Clear Whey Protein Powder and experience the difference today. And for a limited time, go to clearprotein.com/discount/slapping meat and receive a 20% off discount of your order. If you're looking for a good natural choice for protein, the choice is clear. And remember, that's clear with a K. All right. Here's probably my funnest part of the whole episode is the questions that you all submit in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord, ask your questions, join the conversation. That's the best way to do this. First question we have, why don't they play the Super Bowl? Why don't they ever play the Super Bowl up north and not in domes? Pretty easy answer. Weather. You don't want a snow Super Bowl. I mean, I want a snow Super Bowl. But the league doesn't want a Super Bowl that is tainted by weather. And so that's essentially what it is. It's also none of the northern cities outside of New York have a real market ability, like a big town market to hold an event as big as the Super Bowl. It's sort of like WrestleMania now, right? You have to have you have to be a tourist destination to carry an event like this. And so if you think of something like Green Bay or Detroit or Foxborough where the Patriots play or Buffalo, like these aren't tourist destinations. You know how cool it would be to have a Super Bowl in Buffalo? It's never going to happen. I think that's part of the reason why they know they're never going to get a Super Bowl. So why put a dome, right? Because a lot of these new stadiums that are putting, roofs on them to try to get the Super Bowl, Buffalo knows they're never going to get one because they're in the middle of nowhere, New York. They're closer to Toronto, Canada than they are what most people think of New York City as being New York. And so, yeah, that's the reason. It's the weather. It's There's are you a tourist destination? And that's why we're going to go to Vegas, and that's why we're going to go to Atlanta, and that's why we're going to go to, when Nashville gets their new stadium for the Titans, Nashville's going to get a Super Bowl. I believe by 2030, maybe 2032, Nashville will get a Super Bowl. Right? Because it is a top tourist destination in the country right now. Kara sent a really good one. Rank these teams. She gave me a list of teams. I'm about to read the teams off here. Rank these teams from most worst to least worst. Or more so, least cursed to most worst. And so here are the teams. So she said choose 10, but I'm just going to do all of them. New York Jets, Cincinnati Bengals, Dallas Cowboys, Vegas Raiders, Houston Texans, Cardinals, Chargers, Browns, Bears, Vikings, Miami, Jacksonville, and Carolina. And so we're going to start with the least cursed, and we'll go to the most cursed. So the least cursed team of this list is the Dallas Cowboys. They're not cursed. Let's just be honest. They're just a really poor operated football team. But they are far from cursed. God doesn't hate you. Jerry Jones doesn't know how to run a football team. I promise you, if Jerry Jones took a step back, hired a director of football operations, the football team known as the Dallas Cowboys would be in the playoffs and potential Super Bowl candidate. Jerry Jones is the problem. Number 2, least cursed team is the Chicago Bears. They're mediocre. They're stale, but they're not cursed. Number 3 least cursed, again on that right, is the Dolphins. And again, this is more of no one really wants to. I think a lot of this has to do. Their head coach is really bad. I'm just going to be honest. Mike, McDaniel? He's really bad. The team doesn't have a lot of talent on the team. I don't think they're cursed. They're not good. That's kind of what the problem is. Number 4 is the Vikings. Sure, they have 4 Super Bowl losses and some brutal playoff exits. But it's not like they're always a competitive team. It's not like they just suck, right? They're always a competitive team. And so I don't necessarily think that on this list that they're that cursed. Number 5 is the Bengals. They've gone recently to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow might be cursed with all these injuries, but that's, again, because you don't give anyone to protect him. I said the joke a couple of weeks ago, but out of all the obese people in this country, you can't find 5 athletic big guys to protect Joe Burrow. Number 6 is the Raiders. Sure, they're no longer the proud dynasty they were in the 80s. But they're not cursed. I mean, they can't find a quarterback. And their owner, Al Davis, was it Al Davis? I don't know who the owner was. Not the, he's a little bit. He was a little bit too involved in it. I don't find them cursed. The Panthers are number 7 on the list. They're a young team. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. Tepper stepped back from running the team. I don't think they're cursed. I live in Carolina. No one really cares. That's just Carolina fandom, though. When the team isn't good, no one cares. That's for all sports. I don't think that I don't think they're eternally cursed. I can't say that when they had a really good 2015 season and they've had good teams. They've been to 2 Super Bowls since they've been in existence in 96. Number 8 is the Jaguars for the same reason, right? They almost went to the Super Bowl twice. They are a small market team. They have really bad management right now. And I think that's their big issue. But, again, hard for me to call them eternally cursed. Number 9 is the Chargers. For whatever reason, this team can't ever... They've always been talented. Like, you remember... this was a team that had Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Antonio Gates at one time. And still couldn't make it to the big one. This is the first team on the list to me that feels cursed. Not just that they suck, but feels like there's something, because this team has been dominant at times. They've had some talented team. Even current Chargers right now, they're sitting at 3-0. Right, very big chance that they could win the division this year. They got a really good coach. They got Herbert leading the league in passing. Hampton's a good running back. Keenan Allen's on this thing again. They got a decent team. And somehow they're going to blow this. I just have a feeling, right? Number 10 is the Texans. Limited history being a expansion team. But you had J.J. Watt that you wasted. You wasted the prime years of Deshaun Watson before he blew out both his Achilles, a couple ACLs, and a couple massage rooms. But, yeah, the Texans, this team is good too. Like, they have a decent roster. They should be better than what they are playing as this year. And they should probably be better. You know, they had Jadeveon Clowney at one point. Number 11. So, of the list, the third most cursed team is, in my thing, is the Cardinals. They're one of the oldest franchises in the league with barely any success. They've gone to a Super Bowl, but they lost, and that was in 2008, so it's almost been 20 years. They've had some good rosters. Being in the desert probably doesn't help them. It's a bit of a depressing background. Yeah, Cardinals are pretty cursed. Number 12 is the Jets, the second most cursed team of this list of 13 is the Jets. Sure, Joe Namath in 69 was a good year, but since then, you had the butt fumble, an endless line of quarterback misery, and a clown show of a team. Yeah, that team is crazy bad. And then the most cursed team in the league of all time is the Cleveland Browns. This is the definition of eternally cursed. Moved to Baltimore, became the Baltimore Colts. Instantly won a Super Bowl, by the way. Or I'm sorry, that was the Ravens, wasn't it? That was the Ravens, not the Colts. In 99, was it? Excuse me, 96. And they became the Ravens, and the Ravens instantly won a Super Bowl in 2000 and what, one? Excuse me, in 2000. And then won another one in 2012, right? So within 4 years of you moving, the Ravens had won a Super Bowl. Cleveland then gets a team again. Just absolutely cursed. Constant quarterback chaos. There was a point in time where, like, the quarterback list in the 2000s is like over 20. Yeah, if you're a Browns fan, you're a true fan because you haven't given up yet. So there's that. Next question. If you can eat one food for the rest of your life without any health issues, what would it be? She limited me from saying cookout. But the answer is 100% easy. I wasn't going to actually say cookout, but even though cookout's great. if I could eat one food for the rest of my life and not have health issues, it would be, without a doubt, Eastern North Carolina style whole hog barbecue, pulled pork. Now I'm assuming I could get the fixins with it, and the coleslaw, the vinegar barbecue sauce. Again, Eastern style barbecue sauce is just vinegar, brown sugar, red pepper flakes, and that's it. You simmer that down to kill off all the bacteria that the sugar causes. It's apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, brown sugar, and some pepper flakes. And that's all you need. It's no tomato paste or whatever that most barbecue sauces have. But it's the greatest thing you'll ever eat. And we use the whole hog in Eastern style North Carolina, because there's two styles of Carolina barbecue. You got Western style and you got Eastern style. East is the best side. Eastern North Carolina barbecue is the greatest thing you'll ever eat. There's no competition. All you Texas losers, be quiet. Memphis, be quiet. Kansas City, be quiet. Alabama and your mayonnaise-based barbecue sauce, that's gross, big dog. You be quiet. South Carolina with your mustard-based, it's all right. Carolina Gold sauce is pretty good, but you ain't good as North Carolina, right? You ain't had barbecue until you had North Carolina Eastern-style barbecue, and I would eat that every single day. As an honorable mention, fried chicken would be number 2. It don't matter where it's from. Fried chicken is great no matter who cooks it, as long as that chicken's seasoned. And when I mean the chicken season, not the breading, because a lot of people just put a lot of seasonings in the breading, but they don't season the chicken. I want you to season the chicken and then put it in the breading, right? But that, right? So there's that. Next question. They brought back the XFL and used actual WWE superstars who would play each position. We're going to go what I call the skill positions. So that's quarterback, receiver. We'll do a quarterback, a running back, a receiver, a tight end, and we're only going to do offense because I ain't got time for all this. I'm just going to be honest with you. The quarterback, without a doubt, would be Cody Rhodes. The running back, I'm going to put Braun Breaker there because he actually has, that's the position he played in college. At receiver, I would put Trick Williams. Again, that's what he played in college. At tight end, I'd put Roman Reigns at tight end. I feel like he would be good there. We'll go to defense. We'll do a D lineman. And why not Brock Lesnar? Lesnar's on the active roster now. So Lesnar at D line. As a linebacker, oh boy. I'm gonna put Solo Sikoa as a linebacker. Cornerback, or what we'll say secondary, defensive back. I'm gonna put trying to think who would be good at playing secondary. I'm gonna put Montez Ford there. I think he would be agile enough to play coverage. Kicker, just because he punts a lot. So excuse me. The punter would be Randy Orton. Now he's kind of big to be a punter, but that's what he does. My field goal kicker would be Jake Moody. No, I'm kidding. We would lose every game. My kicker would be fuck. Just because like no one cares about him, but he's like a very important part of the team. He could win or lose games for you. LA Knight, not the most important, but like no one really cares about him. But he's kind of good. So yeah, there's your team for you. And then finally, the question: why are the women of pro wrestling putting on the bangers after bangers, and have the men taking a backseat on purpose to let the women shine, or have they become complacent? I really don't know. I'm gonna ask you this: outside of Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer, what women's match here recently has been a banger? Outside of NXT, right? Because we know NXT always has the bangers. I just think wrestling as a whole has been complacent. I think a lot of it has to do with there's no creative direction. It's just a bunch of matches, and I don't really have an answer for this. I don't think the men are any less good as they have been. I don't know. I don't have an answer to you. I'll be honest with you. This one's a tricky question because I'm not exactly certain what you're watching and what you consider a banger. I don't think I've really seen a lot of banger matches here recently. So, and that's men or women's. So, that's the best answer I got for you. Well, with that being said, I do appreciate you all for listening to this episode. My name is WETOODEEP. This has been the Slapping Me Community Show. And until next Tuesday, I will see you again. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe, but most importantly, keep calm. Go slap some meat.